Now, the frequently asked questions. Ready?
Ready.
First one. How many times have you said this?
A million. I've heard it. Not said it, I've heard it.
Where do you get your protein? We hear it every time. So here I will tell you the question and I will tell you the answer. The United States Department of Agriculture says that all plants have all 20 amino acids, which is what animal foods have. It's just that there's a different proportion in every food. So the interesting thing about plant foods is even fruit has a little bit of fat. It's not known for fat and has a little bit of protein. It's not known for protein, but it's known for carbohydrate. And the whole grains, they're known for their carbohydrates and their fiber and some protein. So each one is known, and beans are known for their protein. So we just kind of, whatever's like the dominant thing in there, that's the one we'll just say, okay, that's for protein. Beans are for protein. The whole grains are for carbs, carbohydrates. The first time I heard that word carbs, I was like, what? What's a carb? We'll go into that too. Okay, so the quality of a plant-based protein is higher than many Americans think. And the amount of protein we're eating is double what we actually need, especially as adults. And here's an example from my book. These are the December recipes. I put them together, and the recommended dietary guidelines for Americans says that we need 46 grams for women and 56 for men, which is half of what most people are getting. And if you put together and you count the protein in the book, you'll see that 45.6 is very close to 46. And if a man wants more, they can just eat more and they'll get it. And that'll be okay. And is that appetizing enough? Do you think you'd eat it? Like, do you like the colors? Your food needs to look beautiful, very colorful, and that's, I think that's accomplished there, yes?
Yes.
Good. Okay, what about soy? Is soy healthy? I don't know. I might get man boobs. I don't know. My thyroid might have a problem. I don't know. Okay. If you go to the beach and you see a man with man boobs, do you think he eats soy? Okay, that's a little.
Man boobs?
Oh.
So some people, because it has something called a phytoestrogen, which is a plant estrogen, men say, oh, I'm going to get man boobs. Yeah.
Really?
But if you go to the beach and you see a man with man boobs and you ask him if he eats soy, chances are he doesn't. Right? Okay. So what is soy? Soy has been eaten by the Asians for centuries. It's been around, tried and true, tested, retested. There's a picture there. The yellow round things are soybeans. And I've soaked them and made soy milk out of it at home. Homemade soy milk. You don't have to, but I'm just telling you it's possible. There's a glass of milk, which is soy milk. There's edamame, which is raw. Not raw, it's like the tender shoots before it's very mature. And you might get that in a Japanese restaurant as an appetizer. And then there's tofu and there's tempeh. And what will it do for you? Why should I bother with soy? So if it directly lowers your circulating LDL, which is what cardiologists say you better watch out for if you have heart disease, and if it's going to lower it, is that healthy or unhealthy?
Healthy.
And if it modestly lowers your blood pressure, is that healthy or unhealthy?
Healthy.
And we're going to talk about this omega-6 to omega-3 ratio. It's very important because when we buy a prepared food, it usually has some kind of oil in it. And lots of times that oil is very high in omega-6. And omega-6 is inflammatory and omega-3 is anti-inflammatory. And it's a little dance between the two of them. And since the beginning of time, it was a 1-to-1 ratio. Now it's a 1 to, sky's the limit for the omega-6, which is the inflammatory, and that's the problem. We'll go into that a little bit more later, but the whole point here is to know that omega-3 and omega-6, if you're going to eat any kind of fat, these are required because your body cannot make it. You do not need saturated fat. You do not need monounsaturated fat. You only need these polyunsaturated fats because what they will do in your body is they will create these things called DHA and EPA, which are long-chain fatty acids that we need. We'll go into that later. And the ratio needs to be less than 10. Right now, this is 7, which is fine for soy. Isoflavone is one of those phytochemicals, plant chemicals, and if it alleviates hot flashes when somebody has menopause, is that healthy or unhealthy?
Healthy.
And if it improves their artery health in menopause, is that healthy or unhealthy?
Healthy.
And if it reduces breast cancer recurrence and improves survival, is it healthy or unhealthy?
Healthy.
And I also think it helps to prevent the risk from originally happening. And if it reduces the prostate cancer risk, is that healthy or unhealthy?
Healthy.
Okay,
So which one do we eat?
all
All of them. Can you have too much soy in your diet?
the recommendation is 2 to 4
2 to 4
servings a day.
servings,
You can, so, you know, you can eat,
You can have soy milk.
right?
What is the bread looking thing?
Yes,
Yes.
so that's called tempeh.
Oh, tempeh, yes.
And it's a fermented food, and that's actually, so you can see the yellow beans in there, right?
Yes.
That white stuff is mold. So it's a fermented food, and the fermentation will help to populate your bacteria. You can take it or leave it, but usually you need to steam it first to get away the bitterness, and then you can cook it in something.
I have something else for lunch.
Okay. You can also make like a tempeh bacon. So there are different things you can make with that.
But I love tofu and edamame. I just love edamame.
Yeah.
Meat.
Question? Anything?
So tempeh is where they stimulate meat, or if you go to a
Yes,
restaurant. And,
this is very close to meat in terms of the profile of amino acids. It's as close as you can get with a plant food. It's very high in protein, the highest that I know of. Carbs. Are carbs bad for you?
No.
Depends.
Too many.
Depends. Depends.
Too many.
It depends. What's a simple carb?
Pasta,
Candy.
cookies, potato
Chocolate
chips,
chips.
sodas.
Pretzels.
They're mostly
White flour.
from commercial. Somebody made it. It came in a package, and you had to open that package. Somebody made it for you, right? You did not make that in your kitchen, correct?
Correct.
Okay. What's a complex carbohydrate?
A whole food.
That's that whole food that's grown, and it's very clearly identifiable as grown. And so there's one thing I had to make a major adjustment for in my brain when I went from meat eating to plants. And that is, there are a lot of little things. Meat is like a steak, it's a big piece of one thing. But when you're dealing with plant foods, it's always these little things, and each one is its own little seed. So exciting, because each one can give life, right? So it can give you life. And it was kind of an adjustment because these seeds were all over the place, and it's kind of it's an adjustment. And then one thing is when you're cooking, how do you bind it together? Let's say you want to make a bean burger. Like these things are. So if you mash beans, if you have like a potato masher and you mash the beans, it'll like automatically stick together. So that one thing helps. And then one way I found to make bean burgers is my favorite way, because I have suffered through many a bad bean burger. But the best way is to make it with quinoa. And then just put some veggies if you want in there, like mushrooms or something. And walnuts, small pieces of walnuts gives it a nice bite. And some seasoning, whatever seasoning you like. Could be barbecue sauce, could be whatever. So these are complex carbs. Berries, very deep color. The deeper the color, the more nutrition. I only buy the frozen berries because every time I buy them, half of them are rotten. And if I'm gonna pay a lot of money for berries, I wanna be able to eat them. So I always only buy frozen now. Like occasionally maybe I might get some fresh, but my standard practice is frozen berries. And do I make beans? I used to make beans. Now I just buy the canned ones and rinse them. Trader Joe's has $1.09, organic, they have salt, so you rinse them, and I don't make beans anymore, but I buy them. And Trader Joe's has a lot of these things that you can get at a very reasonable price that most people can afford. Okay. Are carbs bad for you? White sugar, white flour, they actually look like cocaine. They're just like this little white powder. You know, it's a refined food. It's a refined drug. It is a drug because it's refined. Anytime you see something that is refined so much, it's a drug. The food companies don't want to admit it, but because that will affect their product, their.
I remove sugar.
Sorry?
In my diet. I remove sugar in my diet.
You removed it.
Yes,
Perfect.
it's bad.
Bad. Okay, great. You're absolutely right. What it is refined sugar is not food. It's a food additive. If you look at the back of the label, it says added sugar. It's like added color. It's like added preservative. It's not food, it's added. And because it is so concentrated in a carbohydrate, it will spike your blood sugar, and then your brain will say, oh, that was exciting. I want some more of that. And then you get this high, and then you get a crash. Why do you get a crash after you get a high? Because there's nothing to support the sugar to digest. In fact, you get so much of the inflammation that so you have to recover from it. You come out as a negative. It does not help you any iota. And then the worst part of sugar is, do you see people who eat it and they just want to sit on the couch? They don't want to do anything else. It's not that they're lazy, and they might be called lazy, but it's not that they're lazy. It's that their mitochondria are starting to die, and so that they cannot create energy because it's so overworked that it conks out and it dies. And there's many in every cell. But like that's the sad story about a beautiful cake from a bakery, ice cream cake, you name it. So I say it's a beautiful picture that I'm just gonna look at. It's a work of art, and I walk the other way. What a great artist! Okay, and I keep going. Okay, why eliminate oil? Oil is 120 calories for 1 tablespoon. And if you were to eat a whole food of that oil, it would be 20 olives, medium-sized olives. Would you eat 20 olives? Probably not.
Yeah, stuff with blue cheese.
Yes. Okay.
I like that.
There are alternatives to oil, and they are low sodium vegetable broth or water saute. If you need to learn how to do that, there are lots of YouTube videos to show you how. I get the low sodium vegetable broth from Trader Joe's because it's the best price and it's low sodium. And I don't have to make my own broth. I used to do a lot of everything at home. There are certain things, if I can buy it, I'm not gonna make it. It's very hard to get the whole grains, so I make those. Sometimes you can get the frozen ones already made, but I don't eat rice anymore. Why? So rice is a whole grain, but why don't I eat white rice or brown rice? Because rice grows in places where cotton used to grow, and there's cyanide in there, and the plant itself will take up preferentially the cyanide into the grain. Every kind of rice is the same. So I may eat rice in a restaurant situation, but I do not bring it home. I stopped. What else can you do for oil? Let's say you're baking. You want to bake a dessert. Okay, I eat everything. I make my own dessert. I make sure I have dessert, okay? Dessert is part of life. It's part of fun. You have to have dessert. So I make dessert. And they're in my book. But how can you do it so that you preserve your health? Instead of the oil, you can use avocado. We use raw nuts. Instead of roasted and salted, we use raw nuts. We use raw seeds. You can puree a banana or make applesauce. I take an apple, I put it in the blender, and I make applesauce. And those can be sweeteners and moisturizers for baking and desserts. Yes? For those in the know? Why eliminate oil? Okay. So they're in all these packaged foods that people love, and the oils that are in them are cheap. Not only, and there's palm oil, coconut oil. They're very high in omega-6. And omega-6 is
Inflammatory.
it's going to give you a fire. It's not going to help. And then the omega-3 is it's going to give you this peace, zen, kind of situation. And the best way to get it, and the best sources of the omega-3s are flaxseed, chia seed, hemp seed, walnuts. And if you have oatmeal in the morning, you can just sprinkle them on your oatmeal. Usually I have it at night before bed. Sometimes I have it in the morning. It's like a good snack kind of thing that I do because if I make a whole grain mix with several grains, as Virginia said, I often do that, and then I'll have it with the plant milk and some berries, and I kind of like chia seeds now. But when I bake, so for the flaxseed, you need to grind it. Otherwise, it'll just go through your system unhelped. But flax seeds need to be ground, but chia can be as is. Hemp seeds are very high in protein. If you're making a shake and you want to put more protein in it, put some hemp seeds in there. Walnuts are good for baking. So this way you get your omega-3s every day. You cannot make them, so you have to supply them. If you're going to eat any kind of fat, it's the omega-3s. And those are the 4 sources that are the best. You can also get it from greens like Brussels sprouts and things like that. They all have some, but these are the strongest sources, the biggest. Ready for the next question? Where do you get your calcium? You're not having dairy. How can you get calcium? Is it possible?
Broccoli.
Broccoli, correct. Correct. The dietary guideline is 1,000 milligrams or 1,200 milligrams. And for a plant eater, because we eat a lot of vegetables, we get more potassium and magnesium and less of the acidic load from the high protein, so that we don't need as much calcium as a standard American diet eater. And that's been shown with the Seventh-day Adventist studies and also in the UK. These are the December recipes again. I put them together, I counted, it comes to 817. If you have between 500 and 700 milligrams a day, that should be enough. And African women have less than 500, and they have one child after another, after another, after another, and they're fine. So just get your calcium from food, and you're good to go. The strongest source, the highest source, you can see the highest number here, are the greens. Collards is king. It has the most, it's actually the sweetest. Kale is also good. It's a little bitter. So the best way to make greens is something with something a little sweet. A sweet vegetable or fruit. I might grate a carrot in there. I might put some raisins when I'm really lazy. I might put some red pepper. Just something sweet that's a vegetable. I could use butternut squash. Many fruits and vegetables, besides fruits, many vegetables are also very sweet. Just put them with the grain, and you won't taste the bitter, you'll taste the sweet, and it will be the medicine for your, the spoonful of sugar lets the medicine go down, and you'll have the sweet with the bitter. Because bitter helps your liver. Your liver cleans your entire body, and greens are the best thing for your liver to keep it healthy and strong. Okay? And this is a chart that shows you how available the calcium is for absorption. Spinach, rhubarb, and Swiss chard are very high in something called oxalic acid, which binds to the calcium, so it's not really available so much for digestion, but it's a good food to have once in a while. More so the almonds, sesame seeds, beans also have calcium, nuts and seeds, and sweet potatoes. So there's some in there, you see? It's just like if you just eat a variety of foods, you're gonna get it. And then milk and the calcium fortified soy milk, the tofu, yogurts, and the fortified foods have about 30% absorption, the same as milk. And then the greens are much higher. So they have the calcium and they have the higher absorption. Why do they have the higher absorption? Because they're made for us. So many people are milk, they can't drink the milk, right? They have lactose intolerant. 75% of the world's population is lactose intolerant. Why? Because it's really not made for humans, it's made for cows. Almost there. Is it expensive to eat healthy? I'm going to read this to you because it just encapsulates the concept without numbers, and it's very appropriate for us. And this is done by this Professor William Masters. He's a nutrition economist at Tufts, and his CV, his resume is 15 pages long with single space of references that he has created. So he's very well versed in food economics here and around the entire world. In the rich world, eating healthy is a luxury. Not because the ingredients are expensive. The luxury is in having enough time and attention to choose carefully, to tune out the marketing and bypass all the super tasty and convenient offerings around us. It takes effort and skill to sustain an island of health. That's why we join community organizations that promote this, because this way we can have people around us to support us. Because there is an island of swamp sugar-coated temptation out there. 75% of all the products in the supermarket are laced with
Sugar.
Sugar. Corn syrup.
all of the above. Healthy, affordable food is out there. Masters research shows that healthy diets could be assembled from many nutritious foods available at low price in every U.S. grocery supermarket. But now people in America have to make an effort to figure it out, while low-income people in Africa and Asia can't even afford it. So the answer is, where do you get your protein?
Plants.
Is soy healthy?
Yes.
Are carbs bad for you?
Only refined carbs.
Why eliminate oil?
High calories.
And also the omega-6, too much omega-6. Where do you get your calcium?
Plants.
Is it expensive to eat healthy?
No.